As the war against corruption in the country waxes stronger, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) is calling on everybody to embrace the fight. The fight against corruption is not that of the EFCC and other anti-graft agencies alone. All hands must be on deck if Nigeria's anti-corruption war must succeed. Good evening and thank you for joining us on the program, The Eagle. My name is Aisha Muhammad.
Imagine a society where everything works. Durable road networks, stable electricity supply, portable water, well-equipped and functional healthcare facilities, quality education for all, affordable housing schemes, social security benefits, job creation and a lot more that makes life comfortable to live. That is an ideal society. We can only achieve these if we all play our part. Say no to corruption to enjoy these benefits. Kill corruption to save Nigeria. This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
On the program today, World Bank assures EFCC of support on graft war. Suspended NIA boss Ayo Oke's wife for Lashade bought husband property for $1.658 million. It's a lie, EFCC replies Ikweremadu. Also, in this edition, 23 billion naira Dizani bribe, court convicts INEC staff, and Sokoto Attorney General not authorized to take over EFCC's case, says Director Public Prosecution. This and more will come your way right after this timeout.
My name is Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed. I'm the Minister of State in the Ministry of Budget and National Planning. And I want to urge every Nigerian to embrace the transparency and accountability principles of this administration in everything that we do.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) is to enjoy the support of the World Bank in the areas of facilities and capacity building to further strengthen the anti-graft war in Nigeria. Kamala Gebi has the rest of the story.
Dr. Ed Olowo-Okere, Director, Governance Global Practice, World Bank, gave this assurance during a visit to the EFCC at the Commission's head office in Abuja. Acknowledging the tremendous work of the EFCC and the feat it had attained in the last 14 years of its establishment, Dr. Olowo-Okere went down memory lane to recall his familiarity with the works of the Commission and some of the challenges the agency had when it was first created, pledging support in any area possible to further enhance its operations.
We are preparing an operation called Economic Governance and Reform Project. It's supposed to be a follow-on project to the one that was prepared in approved by the World Bank in 2004. And the Ministry of Finance had said one of the agencies that they would like us to work with and support under that project is EFCC. So we are here today to start that conversation. This is going to be the first of the conversation, but we would like to hear from you the areas where you would like World Bank support, the challenges, the issues as you see them, and then we can be able also to see how best to support in addressing these challenges.
Responding, Acting Chairman EFCC Ibrahim Magu acknowledged the great assistance the Commission had been receiving from the World Bank and other development partners, saying, and I quote, "The assistance has in no small measure contributed to the success recorded by the EFCC so far." End of quote. Giving a brief recap of the history of EFCC, Magu said, and I quote, "When we started the EFCC, there was no money. We borrowed money from the Bureau of Public Enterprises, BPE, for effective takeoff of our operations. When the international community saw the sincerity in us, how we were able to arrest and put in cell those high-profile criminals that nobody dared to touch before, they got convinced by our commitment towards prosecuting the anti-corruption war." End of quote. He went further, and I quote, "We got a lot of attention from development partners, particularly the World Bank, who gave us a lot of money that was used to construct the EFCC Academy. Britain and America are also of tremendous support." End of quote. The EFCC boss expressed concern over the delay usually experienced in dispensing corruption cases and conspiracy, in some cases, between the criminals and judicial workers or law enforcement agents to make violators of law escape justice, citing the case of a former governor of Adamawa State, Bala Ngelari, who was set free with the connivance of a prison warder and court registrar after being convicted by a court. Expressing the passion the EFCC has for the war against corruption, Magu said, and I quote, EFCC needs training in money laundering as it is still a new concept which most judges and prosecutors still need to better understand, end of quote. The anti-graft czar also informed the delegation of the low budgetary allocation to EFCC, expressing his desire to have the construction work on the Commission's permanent site completed this year for effective performance. Magu, while commending President Muhammadu Buhari for making corruption fight a cardinal focus of his administration, said,
Because this place is not convenient. We are working, most of the offices are rented, in a rented apartment. Some of them are staying away from there. My leader is outside. The other school is completely outside. The NFI is outside. So there is a problem of confidentiality. And somebody can just come and put this here so that he will be monitoring all our doing. So it's really not good. So we have gone to a permanent site, and the permanent site is working. And now we have signed China. We signed an agreement with the area this morning, and we are paying them a lot of money. And hopefully, we will finish this year.
Other needs listed by the EFCC boss include ICT infrastructure, upgrading of the forensic laboratory, surveillance tools and operational vehicles. On the visit were Sham Whaley, Manager World Bank, Ismail Asize, Lead Financial Specialist, Manuel Vargas and Roland Lohm, Senior Governance Specialist.
Corruption is dishonesty and illegal behavior by people in positions of trust. A public office is a public trust. Do not abuse positions of trust for private gains. Stay away from corruption. Nigeria is a great nation, and it is our responsibility to make the country greater. If you notice any act of corruption, please report to the EFCC via info@efccnigeria.org or call 09 904 4751 or 09 904 4752. You can also call 09 904 4753. This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
The EFCC is seeking an order of final forfeiture of the money recovered from a flat at Osborne Towers to the federal government, even as it revealed that the wife of the embattled Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, IOK, paid a princely $1.658 million to acquire the Osborne flat. Amina Kawuwa tells us more.
OK was said to have made a cash payment of $1.658 million for the purchase of the flat between August 25 and September 3, 2015 in the name of a company, Chobe Ventures Limited. She and her son, Ayodele OK Jr., are said to be directors in the company. OK was also said to have made the cash payment in tranches of $700,000, $650,000, and $353,700 to Eberudi Change, Sula Petroleum and Gas Limited, which later converted the sums to 360 million naira and subsequently paid it to Fine and Country Limited for the purchase of the property. Prosecution Counsel Rotimi Oyedepo tendered as exhibit the receipt issued by Fine and Country Limited to Chobe Ventures Limited. According to Oyedepo, the circumstances leading to the discovery of the huge sums stockpiled in Flat 7B, Osborne Towers, leaves no one in doubt that the act was pursuant to an unlawful activity. The very act of making cash payment of $1.6 million without going through any financial institution by Mrs. Folashade Oki for the accusation of Flat 7B, Osborne Towers, is a criminal act punishable by the Money Laundering Prohibition Amendment Act. I refer my lot to Section 1A, 16D, and 16(2)(b) of the Money Laundering Prohibition Amendment Act. Also, in the affidavit filed by the prosecution, Chove Ventures, which is not into any business, was said to be merely incorporated to retain proceeds of suspected unlawful activities of OK. While urging the court to order the permanent forfeiture of the funds to the federal government, Oyedepo further said that despite the newspaper advertisement of the initial order of April 13, 2017, temporarily forfeiting the money to the federal government, no one showed up in court to show cause why the money should not be permanently forfeited to the federal government. Oyedepo also observed that Chobe Ventures Limited, in whose apartment the huge sum were recovered, did not come to court challenging the forfeiture order despite being served with the motion on notice at its registered address of number 18, Ogumodede Street, off Allen Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos. He added, the failure of Chobe Ventures Limited, in whose custody these monies we are seeking to forfeit were found, to show cause before my lord today why the money should not be forfeited to the federal government of Nigeria. Your lordship should hold that Chobe Ventures Limited has admitted all the facts deposed to in our affidavit and ordered the final forfeiture of the property to the federal government. Earlier, a lawyer, Olukoye Ogumbeji, had filed an application urging the court to suspend further action in the forfeiture proceedings pending the outcome of the Vice President, Yomi Osinbajo, three-man panel constituted by President Muhammadu Buhari to investigate the claim by the NIA boss, OK, that the money belongs to the agency. They further argued that the commission had not yet identified the owner of the money as required by Section 44, subsection 2K of the Constitution. However, Oyedepo urged the court to dismiss the lawyer's application and award a heavy cost against him for seeking to waste the time of the court. I submit that coming to my lord through the back door by way of this application is a violent abuse of the processes of this court. The application is standing in the way of justice, and the applicant even lacks the local standing to be party in the suit, he added. Justice Hassan adjourned the matter to June 6, 2017. Amina Kawa reporting for the Eagle.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is still The Eagle, coming to you from the stables of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. You too can be part of this program by leaving your comment on our social media portals at Official EFCC. Next is an announcement. Please stay tuned.
The attention of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has been drawn to the alarm purportedly raised by the Deputy Senate President, Ike Ikweremadu, at Wednesday, May 3rd plenary of the upper chamber of the National Assembly. The distinguished senator alleged that there were plots by the commission to set him up by planting monies and guns in his residence. Ikweremadu, who claimed that he was tipped off about the purported plot by an EFCC covert investigative journalist privy to the design, told his colleagues that the agency had secured a warrant and plans to storm his home on May 6, 2017, under the guise that it was working on information provided by a whistleblower regarding huge amount of money in the apartment said to be belonging to Ike Ikweremadu. He said, going by the script of the plot, he is to be arrested, detained for 3 weeks and charged to court, while his constituents will be mobilized to protest and seek for his recall from the National Assembly. The Commission wishes to state in very strong terms that it is not aware of any plot to set up Ikweremadu for any arrest. If any agency is plotting to plant monies and guns in Ikweremadu's residence, it is certainly not the EFCC, as such antics are alien to the Commission. Nevertheless, the Commission is worried by the alarm and the fact that the highly regarded Deputy President of the Nigerian Senate would go public with such unverified information without first double-checking with the Commission. This is not only very strange, but smacks of a scripted propaganda campaign to distract the Commission by putting it on the defensive. It must be emphatically stated for the benefit of Senator Ikweremadu and others who share similar misconception and jaundiced views of the EFCC that the Commission does not need any grand plot to arrest and prosecute him if he is found to have violated any law that EFCC enforces. He does not belong in the category of public officers that enjoy immunity from arrest and prosecution by law enforcement agencies. Once again, the alleged plot by the EFCC to raid Senator Ikweremadu's house on May 6, 2017 exists only in the very fertile imagination of the distinguished Deputy Senate President's questionable source, whom he claims is close to the EFCC. The Commission's candid advice to Senator Ikweremadu is to sleep easy if he is not involved in the looting spree that seems to be the pastime of many Nigerians in the corridors of power. Let it be known, however, that there will be no amount of scaremongering that will dissuade the EFCC from vigorously enforcing its mandate to rid Nigeria of corruption.
Corruption is a cankerworm, na cankerworm. I said na cankerworm, na cankerworm. Corruption don't finish our country. Nigeria women rise up and come together, oh yeah.
Every woman come out, but we fight corruption together, oh. Every woman fall out, but we kill corruption together, oh.
Them they thief our money, send them obodo yibo. Children they suffer every day, better school in no day. Nigeria women come, oh, women from every sector, make we fight corruption, we won't kill our country. Them go collect money for light, chop the money, light we no see. Good road and good health we no see. I said na cankerworm, oh, na cankerworm, oh.
Join the EFCC in its crusade to rid Nigeria of corruption. Naija, now we all know.
Welcome back. A staff of the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC, Yisa Olarewaju Adedoyin, has pleaded guilty to receiving the sum of 70,050,000 naira from the 23 billion naira alleged Dezani Alison Madueke bribe meant to compromise electoral officers before the 2015 general election. The report.
Adedoyin, alongside Christian Owusu and Tijani Indabashir, were arraigned on an amended 6-count charge bordering on receiving gratification to the tune of 264,880,000 naira by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) before Justice M.B. Idris of the Federal High Court, Ikoyi, Lagos. Both the first defendant, Owusu, and third defendant, Bashir, pleaded not guilty to all the charges when they were read to them. However, the second defendant, Adedoyin, pleaded guilty to count 4 of the charge. While addressing the court, the prosecution counsel, Rotimi Oyedepo, told the court that the second defendant, Adedoyin, benefited the sum of 28 million out of the 70,050,000 naira he collected from the third defendant, Bashir, during the 2015 general election. Oyedepo further told the court that the commission had recovered properties worth 23 million naira and 5 million naira draft from Adedoyin's account. In his address, Oyedepo also told the court that Adedoyin had entered a plea bargain agreement with the commission to pay a fine of 10 million naira. Oyedepo, however, said that the 5 million naira recovered from his account will form part of the 10 million naira fine. Consequently, Justice Idris found Adedoyin guilty as charged and convicted him accordingly. In his ruling, Justice Idris also accepted the plea bargain agreement between the convict and the commission. Meanwhile, the first defendant, Owusu, who had earlier been convicted by the court, changed his defense counsel. Owusu also changed his plea from guilty to not guilty in the amended 6-count charge. In view of the pleas of not guilty by both the first and third defendants, Oyedepo prayed the court to transfer the matter to Chief Judge, Federal High Court, for reassignment of the grounds that Owusu had earlier been convicted. He argued that in the event of an accused pleading not guilty after pleading guilty, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, ACJA, states that such a matter should be assigned to another judge. Oyedepo also prayed the court to remand Owusu in prison custody. Justice Idris adjourned to May 15, 2017 for the hearing of Owusu's bail and ordered him to be remanded in prison custody. It will be recalled that the accused were first arraigned on April 5, 2017 by the EFCC on a 7-count charge. Following their arraignment, Owusu had pleaded guilty to the charge. Consequently, Justice Idris on April 27, 2017 ordered the final forfeiture of landed properties measuring 100 feet by 80, lying and situated at Okotomi Layout, Obodogu Quarters, Okpanam, Oshimili North Local Government, and 100 feet by 50, lying in the same local government area of Delta State, and the sum of 5 million naira recovered from Owusu. Amina Kawa reporting for The Eagle.
Imagine a society where everything works. Durable road networks, stable electricity supply, portable water, well-equipped and functional healthcare facilities, quality education for all, affordable housing schemes, social security benefits, job creation, and a lot more that makes life comfortable to live. That is an ideal society. We can only achieve these if we all play our part. Say no to corruption to enjoy these benefits. Kill corruption to save Nigeria. This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
Barely a week after a controversial ruling by Justice Idris Okolo of the Federal High Court sitting in Sokoto, which authorized the Attorney General of Sokoto State to take over the prosecution of the case of Mohammed Bello, a serving commissioner in the state and former permanent secretary of local government and chieftaincy affairs in the administration of ex-governor Aliyu Wamako. The Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP of the Federation, has contradicted the fiat that was used by the state AG to take over the prosecution of the case from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Kamli Gebi again is our guide.
The defendants, Mohammed Bello, Abubakar Abdullahi Ahmed, Rose Gallery Nigeria Limited, Silver Spring Global Concept Limited, and Cytex Multiservice Limited, were charged with 43 counts of money laundering and forgery. The charge followed an investigation which uncovered money running into hundreds of millions diverted by the first and second defendants during the first defendant's tenure as the permanent secretary for local government and chieftaincy affairs of Sokoto State. The alleged diversion was perpetrated through the third to fifth defendants in the charge, which are said to be companies owned by the first and second defendants, who used their relatives as directors of the companies. 3 days after the ruling of Justice Kolo, the Director of Public Prosecution, in a letter dated May 5, 2017, noted that the only cases covered by the fiat are those that may be impossible for the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, AGF, to prosecute. According to him, the powers of the Attorney General under the fiat, and I quote, shall be for the prosecution of offences which may be practically impossible for the Office of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation to prosecute. End of quote. The Director of Public Prosecution categorically stated that the Attorney General of the state was not empowered by the fiat to take over the case under reference. Since EFCC is a federal prosecuting agency under the Office of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, this case is not one that the Honorable Attorney General of Sokoto State is empowered to prosecute by virtue of the fiat. More so, the case is being diligently prosecuted by the federal agency, the DPP added. It would be recalled that on May 2, 2017, Justice Kolo gave a ruling on the fiat by the AGF Abubakar Malami SAN, which purportedly allows the Attorney General of the state to take over criminal cases being prosecuted by any agency of government, including the EFCC. The reason given for the takeover of the case was to serve the interests of justice, public interest, and to make sure that legal process is not abused. SK Ate, counsel to EFCC, had in his response strongly expressed fears on how a serving commissioner can diligently prosecute his fellow commissioner and be expected to serve the interests of justice and public good.
Corruption is dishonesty and illegal behavior by people in positions of trust. A public office is a public trust. Do not abuse positions of trust for private gains. Stay away from corruption. Nigeria is a great nation, and it is our responsibility to make the country greater. If you notice any act of corruption, please report to the EFCC via info@efccnigeria.org or call 09 904 4751 or 09 904 4752. You can also call 09 904 4753. This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
Thank you for that report. And on that note, we have come to the end of today's edition of the program. Please don't forget to drop your comment via our social media portal @official EFCC across all the social media platforms, or send an email to the eagle@efccnigeria.org. My name is Aisha Mohammed. Thank you for watching, and God bless Nigeria.